This is a Niall Boylan at Night podcast from Classic Hits 4FM. See classichits.ie for more.
In a new strategy to target sexual attacks, the police in the UK are going to use licensing laws to close down the pubs and clubs who are in high levels of risk. In other words, areas of high risk for sexual attacks or violence. Now, one of the chief superintendents said that, for example, if you were in a certain street at night, and someone had a glass or a bottle and stuck it in your neck, we would use the licensing legislation to close the pub in that particular area down. But until now, we haven't done that for sexual offences. So he went on to say, we are looking at areas that generate high levels of sexual offences, identifying nightclubs and pubs where this might actually happen, which we can link back to rapes, and we're going to use those licensing laws against the premises. Now, I know you know what I mean, we're talking about here. When you have young kids, particularly alighting from nightclubs and bars and what have you, guys are drunk, girls are drunk, sexual offences, girls end up in, I suppose, the rotunda, in some sort of unit there where they find out they've been sexually assaulted by a boy because they've both been drunk on a night out in a nightclub. So what the police will do is use the licensing laws to close that premises down. And tonight I want to know if you think that it's fair on pubs or clubs to do something like this. The debate has often come up before whether publicans should be held accountable for what the customers actually do after they leave the premises. Now, you might remember the case of Graham Parrish, who died in Tipperary from alcohol intoxication when celebrating his birthday. Two barmen were accused of his manslaughter for selling him an irresponsible amount of alcohol. But they were acquitted, of course, of all charges. They had sold him 10 shots in a pint glass. Now, had these men been found guilty, it would have been a landmark moment because, of course, it would have meant that pretty much any crime committed could be blamed on the bar that sold you the excessive amount of alcohol before you committed the crime. So it would have been pretty bizarre, to say the least. But that's pretty much what these police in Britain want to do, and that's what they're saying. They're going to punish the bars and the clubs for the sex crimes and violence against their customers by their customers in the area. Unfortunately, there are many cases around this country where women who have consumed too much alcohol become vulnerable to sexual attacks and predators, or where men have too much alcohol on board and carry out these particular horrific acts. But has that anything to do with the bar or the club? The superintendent also said we need to educate people that if they get out and they get hammered, they get vulnerable. And vulnerable to being assaulted, vulnerable to falling over, vulnerable to being raped. So should the bars and clubs be actually punished for their customers outside the premises? So maybe you think they should sort of share the responsibility. I suppose it goes back to the old question. Remember years ago, there was another case of a guy and he crashed his car, killing his passenger as far as I remember. And he took a case against the pub who sold him the drink while he was in the pub. He was drink driving. He took a case against the pub. It was the pub's fault for selling him the drink. The question I want to ask you tonight is, should pubs and clubs share some responsibility for what happens to their customers when they're drunk after they leave the bar? So I mean, drink driving, assault, sexual violence, etc., etc. Is the bar responsible in any shape or form? If you believe the bar is responsible, text the word yes, or you believe they have some responsibility. If you believe, no, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. They have no responsibility. They shouldn't be doing anything to the bars. Text the word no to 53544. And just by the way, a final result on our text poll. The last text poll we carried out in abortion, it was 86% of people believed they were delighted that the clinic opened. Okay, 86, very high. Be interesting to see what happens in the next referendum. Okay, text 53544. Should a bar club be responsible for its customers after it leaves the bar? You gotta laugh at some of the texts coming in here, don't you? You really have some. Somebody says here in the text, Banana Republic radio station could take a lesson from you with your manufactured text polls. Anyone with half a brain knows that. Well, listen, my friend. I don't know whether you're man, beast, child or woman. You're quite welcome to come into the radio station and have a look at the poll yourself if you like, if you don't believe us. And if you want to come in, I'll gladly meet you here. So if you want to come in and have a look at the poll yourself, you're quite welcome to. There's the invitation. Come in now, if you don't believe me, with your mouthy text. Somebody says, Niall, I went into a bar 2 weeks ago. I was already drunk going in, but still they served me another 6 drinks. I ended up falling down the stairs in there and breaking my ankle. Is there something I can do about it, Jimmy? Yeah, give up the drink, Jimmy. That's what you can do about it. You're a fool. You went into the bar, you were drunk, and you asked for the drinks. Did they lean you over the bar, pour the alcohol down your neck? No, they didn't, Jimmy. You're the one who fell down the stairs. You're stupid. Sorry, Jimmy, that's the problem. But then again, you're probably going to sue the bar anyway and hold them responsible. Somebody says, what happens if a woman who got drunk somewhere in Temple Bar, for example, is getting raped by a guy who got drunk in Stephen's Green area? Knowing that the rape took place in, say, Rialto, which of the pubs are to be closed down? How are the Garda going to check? How they all got involved in drink? What if they got drunk in more than just one pub? That comes in from Philip in Dublin. It is quite complicated, isn't it, Philip? All right, when you think about it. That's quite an interesting text too. Any public place where there is alcohol and a young crowd involved should have bouncers. The page on Facebook, named something about nights out would shock anyone. People lose their senses in the middle of the floor in disco clubs. That comes in from Claire. Sorry, Claire, I can't mention the name of the place that you mentioned for me, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Somebody says, no, because I'm responsible for myself and my stupid actions, and after I leave, such as throwing bins around or breaking windows, whatever it is, you should be responsible for yourself. All right. Keep texting 53544. That's 53544. Do you believe a bar or a pub is responsible for somebody after they leave the bar for, say, drink driving, assault, sexual violence, and so on? Because there's been many cases of the year. There's a great case up the north there recently, about 4 or 5 years ago, where a guy fell off a bar stool and broke his back. Yeah, I think he damaged his spine. He was pissed and he fell off the bar stool, broke his spine, and he sued the bar. Now, he fell off the stool. He was drunk. I want to know, do you believe he should have won the case? In other words, is a bar, according to the superintendent in the UK, they're now going to crack down on it by taking the licences off bars and pubs in areas where violence happens at night after people have been drinking. Do you think that's right? Are the bar or pub responsible for you when you leave? Yes or no? Text yes or no to 53544. I want to go to Paul. Paul, you're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you.
Niall, how's it going?
How you doing, Paul?
I think I know, as I was saying to Mike there, I know there are certain states in the US where this goes on. I think Florida is one of them, that if you go into a pub and say the barman notices you've just come out of a car, you go in, you have a drink and you get back into that car, the cops will go after the pub for serving you the drink. I know it also happens in houses. Let's say you go to a party in someone's house, you will have to actually ask for a drink rather than the owner of the house offering you, because then they're held to blame if you hurt someone when you leave. Mm-hmm. But I can't see it work. I don't think it could work here. I mean, I'll give you a simple example. A couple of weeks ago, I had some friends over from Spain. We went into a club in town. Had a fair few drinks. We were outside about to leave to go to another bar, and this fella came out. Now, he copped two of the group the group I was with, two of the girls they're a couple. And he started abusing them, slagging them, and saying, you're this, you're that, because they were lesbians. Now, 3 or 4 times I warned this guy. I said, look, just, lad, leave it out, go away, go about your own business. And he wouldn't. And eventually I lost him. I just let him. I just hit him on an merciful smack. Now, is that the pub's fault that I hit him? It's not. It's my fault. Okay, I was wrong for hitting him, but it was my fault I hit him.
Yeah, you have a moral responsibility to yourself. You know the difference between right and wrong, don't you?
Yeah, I know the difference. If I go into a pub and I drink, as I said to Mike, if I go in and have 16 shots of Jägermeister and fall down the stairs on the way out, it's my fault for drinking the 16 shots.
Yeah, what do you think of what Jimmy in Limerick said? He went into a pub, he was already drunk, but they served him another 6 drinks. He ended up falling down the stairs and breaking his ankle. Whose fault is that? His own?
It's Jimmy's fault.
Yeah,
Maybe he shouldn't have gone into the second pub.
But Jimmy he's probably more than likely going to sue the pub.
Sue the place, yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. The society's gone mad where people think it's not, once they have a drink, it's not their fault. It's like your man in Limerick. Now, it's terrible that he died, but he did go and ask for a pint full of spirits. Mm-hmm. And if you are willing to go and drink a pint full of spirits, well, then you have to deal with the consequences.
Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
But it's not the barman's fault for partying. Like, then you could turn around and say, well, if I go into an off license to buy a bottle of vodka, bring that home, as which you're going to do. And when I sit in the home, drink that bottle of vodka and kick the shit out of my whole family, the guy in the off license shouldn't have shown me the vodka. It's not my fault.
No, I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, he shouldn't have.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, but the problem is, some people believe that if you go into a bar and I suppose, let's look at the obvious hypothetical situation. You have a set of keys in your hand, a car keys, and you plonk them on the counter, that the barman he has an obligation to say to you, I'm not serving you.
I could see how that could happen. I mean, I'm of the opinion that if I went into a pub and threw my car keys up on the counter and the barman says, no, Paul, I can't serve you tonight if you're driving, I'd be fine with that. But you try and do that to somebody, not like myself, that's had 5 or 6 points already. Can you imagine the grief you'd get?
Oh yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You jump over the counter and decide to serve yourself.
Exactly.
Probably.
So, I mean, I don't think...
See, it's like, the law in this country states quite clearly, particularly for nightclubs, that you can't serve somebody who's... the law is quite weird, actually. That the law states that you cannot serve somebody alcohol if they're under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah,
but
I mean...
That's quite contradictory, I know.
That's unworkable, because there's very few people in this country who go to a nightclub that haven't been in the pub all night.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to... It's very rare you get somebody sober going into a nightclub. So the nightclubs will technically make no money. So it's a law, they've brought in a law that is actually unworkable.
So do you think it's fair of this chief superintendent in the UK, and it's only a matter of time before Ireland spot these things and think it's a great idea and let's do it, to basically use the licensing laws to close down bars and clubs just because, say, there was violence or sexual attacks in that particular area after the pub closed?
No, at the end of the day, it's not... It's up to the publican to police what happens inside his doors and what happens on his premises. It's not up to him, it's up to the police outside his doors. That's their responsibility. What happens on the street is the police. What happens inside his doors is the owner of the bar and his security.
Okay, well, hang on for a second. Wait there. I want you to stay there, Paul. Colin, you're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you, Colin.
How's it going, boss? How are you?
How are you, boss? All right.
Not too bad.
All right, go ahead. What do you want to say?
Well, just there a while ago now, I'll admit I was absolutely gay-eyed coming out of a bar.
Oh, you keep the language down a bit there, Colin, will you?
Just absolutely drunk, absolutely pissed.
Yeah.
And I fell over, hit my head, my wallet's gone, no idea where that went.
Your wallet went?
My wallet's gone, yeah.
Yeah.
So I either dropped it or someone took it. Obviously, someone definitely took it.
All right, so you were so drunk you had no idea what you were even up to. Go on.
Yeah,
right.
But I went out and tripped on the street, hit my head, and I'm 100% dying to sue.
Dying to sue the bar?
Yeah, dying to sue the bar.
Why?
Well, because, you know what I mean, they didn't know. They shouldn't have said to me. They know if I was drunk, they could have said, no, you've had enough. But they didn't.
At what point did you turn around and say to yourself, I've had enough?
I think it before I even went out, but...
was there not a point? I'd say I don't know how many drinks gets you drunk, or as the words you used earlier on, gee-eyed.
I can handle my drink. I've never had a problem handling
you
my drink.
You obviously can't handle your drink, but anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
how many drinks does it take to take you, as you use the wording yourself, gee-eyed? How many drinks does it take to get you that far?
Well, that was at the spirit level. I had about 8. I said I had about 8, 9 pints, and then I moved on to the double whiskey at that stage.
Right, so you were well on. Okay, so did you when you got to the point where you had maybe 6 or 7 points, did you not say to yourself, okay, I've had a fair bit now, if I have any more, there's a possibility I'm going to be extremely plastered and I'm not going to even know my way home, that I should stop now while the going's good, get a bit of fresh air, a cup of coffee maybe? I had a glass of water. I thought it was grand. Yeah, a glass of water.
I thought water for whiskey. Are you stupid?
I thought it was grand. Look, I got it, no bother, and I didn't think it was in a bad way. My mate said I was grand.
Your mates will tell you anything you want them to tell you. So you went up to the bar pissed and he continued to serve you, so you believe it's his fault that you went outside then and banged your head and lost your wallet.
100% his fault, do you know what I mean?
But hang on, Colin, you've left his premises. You've actually, you said you went outside, you left that man's premises. And you did the most stupid thing. I don't think you're that well experienced with alcohol. If you're going to drink water and whiskey together, or you're going to put water down on top of whiskey, because it'll only make you worse. But you did say you left his premises, and you had 8 pints and double whiskeys. That didn't even get me pissed. And I'm drunk twice or 3 times as I you, lad.
Yeah, but it was his fault that I was drunk. Jimmy, look,
you went and purchased the alcohol. Did he give you the drink for free?
No, he gave
Did
me
he
the
come
drink.
out of the club before my pub or whatever? Did he come outside and say, here, Colin, come on in here and I'll give you loads of free drink? No, he didn't. You made the decision to go out, you made the decision to pick his pub to go into, and you made the decision to order alcohol. And you chose to drink it. So at what stage in that chain of events did the barman say, here's free drink, come in and we'll give it to you for nothing?
I chose to drink it. I'll give you that.
So
But
then
he chose to give to me. He knew I was pissed, and he was thinking. He saw the laser card coming out. He saw me. Oh, look, he's going to flash the cash now, and he thought he'd get a bit more cash out of me. So I'm going to get a bit of cash off him.
Hang on a second. If you decide you have money in your pocket, you go into a pub to get drink. You go to a brothel to get laid. So you know what I mean. You're making the decision to go in and buy that alcohol. He's not forcing it. That's his business. His business is to supply on his premises people with alcohol.
If you were a professional footballer and you were going to run on a pitch, you expect the manager to say, actually, you know what, you're injured, you're not going on. You expect the barman to say, you can't, look, you're clearly gone.
Hang on.
I do, hold on for a second. I do believe to some extent, Paul, the barman does have a responsibility if somebody is plastered to say, listen, pal, you've had enough. I do believe there's a responsibility there, but in saying that, I don't believe it's his responsibility to pay the damages when he falls outside the door.
And it's certainly not his. Yeah, exactly. Does the pub now have to take out liability to say, well, if you fall on the street 20 yards down the road, it's still my fault?
I've already sought a bit of advice about this, not from just from a couple of mates who have done this. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Experience.
So obviously your mates have a little bit of experience at suing nightclubs and bars, have they?
No. It's not a scam or anything. You know what I mean?
It sounds like a scam to me, if you ask me. But go on.
It's just these. You know what I mean? And this is pocket change. These big. You know, to these pubs. Like, these are pocket change. They won't even look at this. The insurance take care of it.
Yeah, but who's paying the levy on the insurance policies? Who's paying? When you sue a nightclub for, say, 10 grand, who pays the nightclub? Or who pays you when you sue a nightclub for 10 grand?
Insurance.
No, they don't. No. You're mistaken. You're very badly mistaken. Yeah. Usually the excess on the policy is probably about 10 to 15,000 euro. So the bar is actually paying you. So that's somebody less who will be employed that year. Possibly because you're taking 15 grand out of their money. Sorry, go ahead, pal.
No, this is the exact same argument you would get if you were talking about shoplifting. It's not the shop that gets the hit; it's the insurance company. Now, it doesn't surprise me actually. I'm sorry about this, Colin, but it doesn't surprise me what we know of you already that you would come out with a statement like that. I mean, it does not surprise me. It's number one, you're shirking responsibility again, and now you're saying, "Oh, well, sure, he has loads of money. I might as well take some of his." You know,
it's all pocket change then.
Pocket change. Most of the businesses in this country, and I know very well what's happening to businesses at the moment, right? And most of them are on their knees.
A lot of them can't even afford the insurance to operate. Okay, hold on, just wait there, both of you, if you can, for a second. The number again is 1850 410 494. That's 1850 410 494. Or you can text us right now at 535 44 for 20 cents here at Classic Hits 4FM. Colin basically fell outside a bar, hit his head, and his money was taken. And he's blaming the bar. He said if the bar hadn't served him all the drink and he wasn't that pissed, it wouldn't have happened, and he's going to sue them. Do you believe he's right? Are the bar responsible for you after you leave the premises? Because the police in England believe they are, and certainly I'm sure the Garda Síochána will have something to say about it as well. Text 53544. Yes or no? Are they responsible? Some of the texts coming in, haha, they will sue the breweries next for getting pissed, says Paul in Cork. Somebody said, well, a load of crap. If you end up 25 stone after a fast food, do you blame the chipper? Jerry in Cork. Somebody says, what the F? Does that I'm not going to read it. Okay, I'll read it out verbatim. Please close your ears if you don't like bad language. Does that key-eyed key bag need his nanny to collect him and hold his hand all the way home so he doesn't get himself into trouble? What a prat. That comes in from Bren. Somebody says that boy who was ready to sue, the bar should sue him for endangering the patrons due to his reckless behaviour. Lots and lots of texts coming in. Text 53544. I want to go to Patrick. You're in Galway. You're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you, Patrick.
Hello, good evening. For many years I was a taxi driver within Galway City. Mm-hmm. And I returned to university. But whilst I was a driver for years in Galway, the amount of students, not just students, but other people that be doing some crazy things once they come out of the nightclubs and out of the pubs. Now,
are you on a speakerphone, by the way, Patrick, because you're a bit muffled?
No.
Okay, so you sound a bit muffled there. Your phone is a bit dodgy, but go on.
All right, sorry. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the pubs or nightclubs are not responsible for the behaviour of the patrons or the customers that come in. I mean, if they're legal enough to drink, they sure should have the responsibility of walking out on their own 2 feet and then going home for themselves. But what you have is a lot of them coming out, having arguments, going to chippers and everything and having a great crack. But the moment they slip or whatever, they think, well, I'm the one who got pissed, but I'm going to sue the pub.
But that's what they do invariably. I mean, that's what Colin is going to do. He's going to sue the pub.
But there was an incident when I was driving and I gave full permission to the show to go into the guards or whatever. I was taking a person home one night. I was driving my car. Now, because this person was pissed sitting in the front seat of my car, is it my fault that he grabbed the wheel and tried to put the car into the Galway docks?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm very serious.
While you were driving, he reached across and grabbed the steering wheel?
Exactly.
And what happened, by the way? I'm assuming everything was all right because you're talking to us now.
Yes, but I managed to control the car. The car was like literally feet away from the water.
Mm-hmm. I hope he gave him a good kick in the hole for himself.
Oh yeah, but no, I pinned him against the window, and basically what happened, there's a code that you can call in, or else you press the button, and you basically, other taxi drivers will come to your aid, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And basically the guards came, they took him along, and basically, so it would have been my fault if we went into the water. Or is it his fault because he couldn't behave whilst I was taking him home?
And maybe he would have blamed the bar for serving him too much drink, as Colin did. What do you think of what Colin is doing, suing the bar?
Well, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, the pubs in Galway, number one, the guards are asking them already to close down earlier. Mm-hmm. Because they're saying that they're a little bit loud around the university.
Yeah,
now,
and antisocial behaviour as well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, fair enough. You have a few bad apples everywhere now, in fairness. But I mean, within the scene, within the pubs and the nightclubs in Galway, for the last couple of years, there's no way that there's that, because there's so many taxis out there that they'd be gone in an hour anyway. But the point being is that there's not enough. It's bad enough that the pubs and nightclubs are struggling just to stay open. And it's even worse when you have the likes of other person suing a person because he can't even hold his drink.
Yeah, suing him certainly for his own stupidity. Hold on for a second.
No, I think it's ridiculous now, obviously.
It's your own stupidity, Colin, for falling.
That's a bad situation that happened to him.
It is.
That's bad.
It's like something you would do.
Yeah, but thanks for the idea. But, I mean, he should have known that. Why was he picking up this guy who was clearly pissed?
What do you mean, what was he picking up a guy who was clearly pissed? What are they supposed to do?
If he was worried about...
Hold on a second. What are taxi drivers supposed to do? Just leave all the drunk people in town?
If they don't want them in their car, don't pick them up.
Oh, God. All right, okay, hold on a second. Owen, you're in Galway. You're live in Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you.
How are you doing, Niall?
How are you doing, Owen?
Not too bad at all. Niall, I think it's a ridiculous idea, and I think the police to come out in England and say something like this, I don't know what was going through their heads. Like, for example, what people are doing nowadays because of whatever's going on economy-wise is they're drinking at home, and people are turning up in the pubs, clubs, or whatever, pissed. So are the pubs responsible for people turning up pissed? I mean...
Well, legally they are. You know, Owen, the pubs, under the legislation currently in this country, the Liquor Licensing Act, they're obliged to refuse a person drink if they're already under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah, but some people as well kind of, I know, taking maybe naggins in their bags or whatever.
Or down their pants or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean... I just think it's ridiculous.
What do you think of what Colin is doing? He's basically blaming the bar for him falling outside the bar and hitting his head.
Falling outside the bar?
Yeah, he was out in the road outside the bar. He falls on the ground, hits his head, and somebody nicked his wallet. And now he's going to sue the bar for serving him so much drink.
No, sure, look, if that's what he wants to do, fair enough, but I can't see him getting much joy out of it because... Like, who would take on that case and who would say, you know...
I'm telling you now, sadly, Owen, I have a funny feeling he'd win the case. Sadly, I think, provided, of course, he's witnesses to the fact, but if he can prove that the bar served him an excessive amount of alcohol, he probably has quite a strong case.
And what's not to say that he had been drinking...
Morally, I think he's wrong.
I think he's wrong as well.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Actually, I think he's a fool, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. But however, that's beside the point. But morally, I think he's wrong. But legally speaking, he probably is right.
Well, if that's the case, and if he does succeed in what he's doing, then you'll have everyone doing the very same thing. Oh, I fell outside the pub, and
well, everybody.
Sure, why not? It might teach. I mean, might make things better. Like, do you know what I mean?
But like, what teach? It's not. You're not going to. I don't know. I just think it's totally wrong what you're doing, and you can't sue.
It's not wrong
because. But
if you went into a supermarket, and you bought a heap of groceries and they made you sick, you'd go after the shop.
I wouldn't particularly. No, I'd go after the people that probably made.
I didn't ask. Get my head bumped in and my wallet nicked.
No,
granted,
you didn't.
Granted, look, I drank a fair bit.
Yeah, but you're admitting.
I should have been cut off. They didn't do that, and now.
But did you not think yourself, maybe I have enough here, then that's enough, I shouldn't be drinking anymore?
Who does that? Who can actually do that?
Well, I can do it. I know when I have enough that I say, look, I have enough of this, I'm out of here, get a taxi home or whatever. But
you mean life of the party there?
Huh?
Life of the party there.
Yeah, well, I won't be the one falling outside the pub at the end of the night and then looking to sue the barman because he filled me up with drink or whatever. Like, I mean, that's just ridiculous, to be quite honest. I mean, you got one text there, Niall, where some guy who said that if you go into a chipper and you eat 20 bags of chips and come out...
And you put on weight.
And you put on weight, you're not going to go back to the chipper and say, look, Jesus, I'm after putting on 20 stone because of the chips and I'm going to sue you because of every heart disease and diabetes or whatever.
Yeah, but Colin probably would.
I mean...
I'm not stopping chippers on the way home.
Yeah.
Like, the next thing, is it more or less nearly in any state now at this stage that... We
well, I think we have to be responsible. But look, there's been so many cases over the years. I mentioned the guy in the bar stool in Belfast. There was a guy down in Tipperary, of course, who crashed or who died from alcoholic intoxication on his birthday. And again, the barmen were sued, but now they were acquitted of charges. But any of those cases could have turned either way.
Well, look at this way. Say if Colin was in with say 3 or 4 people, right, and he wasn't going up to the bar, that he wasn't able to stand, say for example, and there was someone going up who might have been a little bit sober, buying drink and bringing it down. Mm-hmm. Who's wrong there? Is it the person that's buying the drink that happens to be sober, or is it still the barman's fault?
Good point. Hold on, wait there for a second, actually. Lots of text coming in here. Somebody says, Niall, I have every intention of suing the bar. After all, it's negligence on behalf. This time next year, I'll have 15 or 20 grand in the bank. Cheers, Jimmy in Limerick. This is Jimmy who fell down the stairs because he had 6 pints, went into the bar, even got more drunk and fell down the stairs. Jimmy, you're still a fool. When we go, Ray, I think it's Ray, you're in Cork. You're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you. How you doing, Ray?
Not too bad, yourself?
Grand, Ray, what do you make of what Colin said, and Jimmy as well, who's been texting in there, that they're going to sue the bar because they got drunk and fell. Now, Colin fell outside, Jimmy fell inside.
Well, Colin did say he faced before he actually left the house.
He said what?
I said pissed. That's an expression you use, I'm sure. I wasn't pissed. I mean, I wasn't too drunk. I was going out.
You were half steam leaving the house anyhow.
I was a bit of fun, you mean... Everyone has a couple of cans. Everyone has a couple of cans before they go. You know that, and I know this.
Yeah, and isn't karma a wonderful thing?
Yeah. What?
You smack the dog with a shovel, you fall over, you hit your head, and you lose your wallet.
Well, you know what I mean? Don't think it was a dog anyway. But
well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, look, I wasn't drunk leaving the house. I had a few cans with the lads. That's all.
Yeah, but you were still under the influence of alcohol, weren't you?
Yeah.
So
what's the point? So he was under the influence of alcohol, so what are you saying? The bar shouldn't have served him in the first place?
Well, technically they shouldn't, because
they did.
The licensee law states that you're not supposed to serve a person.
I know that. I know that, but they still do.
If
they served me the booze, so they should be held accountable.
Well, they were wrong, obviously, in certain...
They were wrong. Cheers. Agreeing with my point. Next caller.
Oh, God.
You shouldn't go after the bar because you fell outside the door.
Because they made me pissed.
But you were half pissed going in the door.
Well, they filled up the tank then, didn't they?
Pardon?
They filled up the rest of the tank then. It was up to them to say, when they seen me coming up to the bar...
Pissed.
Buying shots and buying beer, whatever I was buying, I don't remember it. But they should have said to me, you've had enough, on the go. I would probably have kicked off, but sure, you know what I mean? I would have said, cheers lads. And no, I didn't. They didn't say anything to me. I went out, hit me head, got my wallet stolen. So you've disagreed with me there, that they should be held accountable.
Technically, they should have said no to you for giving you more.
And technically, they didn't.
Well, that's where he's wrong.
Sorry, Owen, what did you say, Owen?
Can I just say, you said yourself, Niall, that you worked in nightclubs yourself.
I did, yeah, for about 30 years.
You can see how busy nightclubs can be, and you can see how busy people behind the bars can be, and they're not going to stand behind the bar and look at someone and say...
No, they don't judge people. I've seen people getting absolutely ossified, barely able to stand, and still get served another drink.
Still, because I would say the barmen or women or whoever is behind the counter are busy enough, and they're not there to police.
Particularly on a Saturday night when you've got 1,000 people in a nightclub or in a bar or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, different barmen go to them, yeah.
I'm like, if I was a barman, I wasn't going to be looking at someone if I was in a nightclub, say, and just saying, do you know what, you've enough or whatever.
Yeah, well, okay, but the point is, the law will state that they should be doing that. They should be more responsible. For example, there is some responsible barmen out there, I'm sure. But in saying that, what I'm talking about here is, and what the police in the UK are talking about is, after they leave the nightclub, do we still believe that the bar and the nightclub should be responsible for them in some way?
No, I don't think so. No,
see, that's what Colin is saying, is they do. Ray, do you believe the nightclub or bar has a responsibility to customers outside the premises or across the road?
No.
Whose responsibility is that?
It's their own responsibility.
That's it.
I mean, like, if you get red arse inside the place, at the end of the night, you go out, you go to a fast food restaurant, you fall over, you bang your head. What are you going to do? Are you going to go back to the nightclub or back to the bar that served you all the drinks in the first place?
Okay,
yeah, you should.
But you were after leaving the premises. How are they supposed to know then that you didn't have an egg or a couple of cans?
Because I didn't.
Outside the
nightclub. Where are you going to get that? Where are you going to get that at 2 or 3 in the morning?
If you want to drink at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, there's ways and means of getting it.
Yeah, it was about 2 or 3 in the morning I felt leaving the nightclub. So all my drinking had done in the pub, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, let me read out one of these texts here. That guy, Colin, always the big man on the wrong side. Truth is, he's probably sitting at home, phone in one hand, Willie in the other. I'd wager he's winding you up, and he's probably no life experience outside his bedroom. Remember that the dog beater, that's him. He's seriously losing the entertainment value.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Dog beater. That's what he remembers the time that you told us you were on the air and you told us that you hit your dog with a shovel. Not your dog, the next door neighbour's dog.
Yeah, for giving my kids grief.
For giving your kid grief. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so we can see that we're building up a profile, I suppose, Colin, as we do when we have regular callers on the show. The listeners kind of build up a profile, and we can kind of build up a profile of what sort of person you are. So, firstly, you're hitting dogs with shovels, and now you're telling us
4 incidents.
Sorry.
Well, 4 things people know about me. Yeah, make me a horrible man.
Yeah. So, and now you're falling outside of bars, splitting your head and suing the bar. So you're a chancer, really, aren't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I didn't ask for the booze. Do you know what I mean? I did ask for booze. They should have said to me.
You did ask for the booze, yeah.
Yeah, I asked for the booze, yeah, you got me there. But I didn't, they should have said to me, no.
All right, hold on a second.
This got nothing to do with the dog, this got nothing to do with anything else.
All right, Dunica, you're in Limerick, you're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you.
Hi, Niall, how are you? Great show.
Well, thanks. Do you know Jimmy, by the way? Jimmy in Limerick, who fell down the stairs.
No, I was thinking on the way out, I was like, do I know this guy? No, I don't know.
Look for a Jimmy with a plaster cast on his leg.
I didn't realise that this was the same guy for the dog, and I was just about to ask, has he any sense in his head, or does he know right from wrong? But I've just... he's answered the question. He's clearly a muppet and hasn't a clue what he's doing with his life. And I don't know where the fuck he was brought up, but clearly he had no morals anyway. Sorry for cursing, by the way. Mm-hmm. He's a genuine muppet, and I don't know how he's going to get away with, suing the bar. I mean, what does he think he's doing? Does he have sense at all in his head,
What do you mean have any sense in my head?
You've no sense, clearly, if you're going to go around abusing animals and going around suing pubs because you fall over because you're a muppet and you can't handle your drink.
Forget about the dog. Forget about the dog. I did a dog thing. I did a dog thing for annoying my kid, sticking off my child. This one, the bar incident, which we're talking about now, nothing to do with the dog. We're talking about the bar incident right now.
I understand that. I said that to you as well just there. Have you sense in your head?
I've got plenty of sense in my head.
Do you? Do you go shopping?
It was the barman didn't have any sense in his head. The barman or the bouncer who should have said, this chap's had enough, and now I got into me head, whatever, and me wallet went.
Yeah, you got into your head, so you fell. You made yourself fall. You get me? It's not that he didn't come over and push you out in the road and make you split your head. You did that yourself.
Could have been. Sure, I don't know. I woke up, sobered up to the boiler, head aching, a wallet gone. So he said, some guy didn't push me over. Same guy that got me wallet.
Somebody pushed you over now, or did you fall over? Would you make up your mind?
Yeah, exactly. You don't even know what you're saying now.
Were you pushed over, or did you fall over? Were you in a fight, Colin?
I was blacked out. Who knows? Someone took advantage of the situation.
See, you don't even know what you were doing.
Go and get a hold of your life. Were you drunk when you hit the dog over the head as well, were you?
No, I wasn't. I was thinking that for my kid. So bring back to the dog, or get that shovel out again for you.
Oh, will you? Yeah, I'd like to see you try, because you deserve to be in the ground yourself. You're nothing but a dirty, filthy scumbag.
That dog was barking, you know what I mean? Now you're doing worse than barking. And I say I didn't want to bring up the dog thing, right? So you can...
Okay, let's move away from the dog thing. We know his true colours when it comes to the dog thing.
So he walks into a Chinese restaurant and buys, we'll say, whatever food, and he didn't want that food. And then, so who's to blame? It's his own fault because he ordered what he ordered.
Yeah.
So you go into a pub, you order the drink, you get what you're given. Why are you trying to sue? You walk outside the premises and on your own. You weren't thrown out of the premises. You walked out on your own.
Why wasn't I thrown out of the premises? Why wasn't I thrown out of the premises being drunk? That's the argument I'm making.
Yeah, why weren't you? Because clearly you probably were holding yourself together. I don't know.
Maybe you actually were thrown. Maybe you were thrown out of the premises because you probably can't remember. You can't even remember falling in the first place, Colin. You thick.
But you see, this is another argument that I have then as well, and I'm totally like saying that he has no right to sue. But then I do think that they do have a little bit of responsibility. I mean, I have friends that go out and if they fall, a girl will say, and she's just thrown out into the street then and left to deal with it on her own. Do you know what I mean? Like if she got raped outside or anything, isn't there a law there that they have to put someone into the taxi, or isn't there like a responsibility thing?
They do. Well, I've worked in nightclubs for years, and they do have a responsibility if somebody's extremely drunk to make sure that they get into a taxi and get home. They do have some responsibility, particularly if it's a woman, I suppose, more so than a guy. I know that sounds very sexist, but we all know.
No, but to be fair, like when. You know, I do understand.
Yeah, because guys, unfortunately, there's predator guys out there that take advantage of drunk women.
Yeah,
some of the texts coming in now. Can you ask Colin? Tell Colin maybe it was the dog that pushed him over. Somebody else says, did he fall over a dog? A lot of people bringing the dog up, Colin, again. Just to remind, by the way, listeners who are a little bit in the dark about the dog. Colin was on about 3 weeks ago. Or it could have been 4 weeks ago. I'm not too sure. Telling us that his next door neighbour's dog was barking and kept his baby awake all night. So he went out and he hit the next door neighbour's dog with a shovel. So just to fill you in on that part of what people are referring to.
Fucking procreate at all. Like, clearly he has no clue of what he's doing, and he's going to be bringing the family up as well, like, and he's just acting the balance.
I've no clue what I'm doing. Cindy, you just came on. I've no clue what I'm talking about, Cindy. You just came on to say, this guy hasn't got a clue what he's talking about, and then saying, well, actually, they do have a way of responsibility.
Yeah, no, to certain things, not for when you're absolutely wasted, going out falling and hitting your head on the public.
So what should happen?
Why don't you sue the council? Why don't you, why?
So what should happen? I was there. Drunk nightclub. What would you have done?
What do you mean? If you were drunk?
If you were the barman, what would you have done?
If I was the barman, it was my responsibility.
I came over to you, throwing a laser card around, throwing whatever around, throwing cash around, saying,
if you looked sober enough, and I thought that I had made the decision that you were able to drink, clearly, like, you were able to stand up and ask for a drink and give your laser card and put in your code right and pay the money. If you were able to do that, then I don't see why I couldn't have served you a drink.
Okay, hold on both of you if you can for a second. Somebody said, I'm a bar and nightclub owner and I'm so sick of this attitude of your caller and people like him. When people see big business, they just think there's loads of money. They have no idea of the bills involved. To be fair, most bars do monitor the level of drunkenness of their patrons, but it is a subject after all, especially if you don't know the individual. What does this clown do for a living? Does he pay taxes like businesses, or do our employ people? Probably not. At least an open business has benefit to the economy. How does this guy contribute to the economy? All people like this guy want is easy money. They should try working 7 days a week just to pay the bills. I can actually tell you, because I remember he was on before telling us that he doesn't. He does work, but he doesn't pay tax, and he's also claiming the dole, if I remember rightly. That was the last time he was on. Some character, all right. Joe, you're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Stay there if you can, Donica, for a second. Joe, go ahead.
How are you doing? I'm driving a taxi, and I just listened there about the responsibility that they have to put into a taxi.
Yeah.
As a taxi driver, I won't take somebody when they're stocious drunk.
Will you not?
No, but you see, like...
Well, it depends on the level of drunkenness, does it?
Exactly, no, but if they're drunk enough for a nightclub to actually have to put them into a taxi, they're too drunk for me to take them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just throw that responsibility back because as I said, it's not my fault. You know what I mean? Now, as far as I worked as a barman, and you do have a responsibility.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. But the whole other problem, the problem is, Joe, young barmen in nightclubs and bars nowadays. You got young lads, 19, 20 years of age. The boss is telling them what to do. There's different barmen serving the same person all the time. They're not aware of how many drinks. It's not like, in a local bar where, Billy, the barman, is serving Johnny behind, in front of the bar all day. So he knows roughly how much he's had to drink. They don't know.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is, to get a license, you have to show you're a responsible person. And if you have other people serving drink, you are responsible for them.
Oh, I know you are, yeah. I know that's the law.
Yeah, I've worked in nightclubs. I actually worked as a bar manager one time and was a 21st on. And I took the vodka off sale because it was a free bar and they were coming up and getting half pints of vodka and Red Bull. So I just stopped giving out the vodka. And I was fucked over and told I'd be doing this and done that and what have you, and I just ignored them. Because at the end of the day, there is responsibility. Now, there is self-responsibility as well, and if that man goes to court and claims, right?
Yeah.
That could come into it.
Oh, right? I know, yeah.
And he'll get his name splashed about being an irresponsible person. And you say he has kids?
Yeah, well, see, he has a child, yeah.
Yeah, so I can come back and slap him in the arse.
But the thing is, the sad part about it is if he goes to court, there's a strong chance he'll win the case.
Exactly, yeah, but there will be stipulations that he was partly responsible.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that can come back and slap him in the arse down the line.
But he doesn't, Colin, you don't see any responsibility. You don't see you're responsible at all, do you?
I know that it was a heavy... I'm not going to lie. I know it was a heavy night, but it was a responsibility for this person to say, that man there was saying that he cut the people off on the free bar. Yeah. And that's the responsibility. No one cut me off, and now I'm suffering.
Mm-hmm. Well, hold on a second. I think Joe got a fare there,
Yeah,
actually.
I'm about to get the fare. I'll have to go, lads. Thanks.
Say goodnight to your fare for us as well, Joe. All right. Cheers. Okay, hold on a second. John in Limerick wants to talk to Colin. Then I've got to go to a break. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Colin.
Yeah, go ahead. Lower down your radio, John, will you?
Okay. Lower down. The night you fell, did you see anybody around when you fell?
Did I see any around?
Yeah, sure it wasn't the dog with a bandage on his head that pushed you and robbed your wallet.
Some barking at me anyway, but I don't think it was that.
Come here,
there was plenty of dogs around and plenty of dogs in it, but I'm not sure about anything.
Right, lads, stick to the point, will you, lads?
If you had to went to the barman and you had to said you had enough drink, you'd be suing him as well for refusing to serve you. He's never happy.
Do me a favour, lower down your radio there, John, will you? Because it's come back and we're hearing it back. All right, go man. Oh, we've lost him. All right, listen, we have to take a break anyway. The number is 1850 410 494. That's 1850 410 494. Text 53544. Somebody else texts in, it was probably the ghost of the dog getting him back. Somebody says, look, if you're trying to sleep, I'd hit a dog as well. Oh, would you now? So he says, Niall, will you ever get that feckin' fool off the air? He's trying to make easy money instead of working for it off the radio. What a... my heart goes out to his poor kids. A wanker. That comes in from Ross in Cork. Somebody says, if that muppet hit my dog with a shovel, I'd shove the shovel up where the sun doesn't shine. So he said, Niall, ask that muppet Colin, was it his wages or social welfare money that was stolen? That is right. You see, Colin, people have really good memories. Okay, text 53544. 53544. Or call us on 1850 410 494. All right, the question simply I was asking again. Chief Superintendent in the UK, they're bringing in new legislation whereby they will close down bars and pubs in areas where there's a high risk of crime or sexual offences in particular, because there has been high incidence of sexual offences. You know, young people leaving bars, girls drunk, being taken advantage of. And what they're doing is they're blaming the bars. And I'm asking you, is it the bar's fault? Is it the bar, the nightclub? Is it their fault when people commit crimes after they leave because they're drunk? Colin fell, who's on the air at the moment, hit his head, had his wallet stolen, and admitted by his own admission he had 8 or 9 pints and then went on to the vodkas or whatever he was drinking, or the whiskies after that as well. He was pissed. Absolutely stocious. Falls, hits his head, gets his wallet stolen, and now he's going to sue the bar. This is outside the bar, by the way. Not in it. Outside it. Just a couple of 100 yards down the road. I'm asking you, is he right? Is it the bar's responsibility? Text 53544. Text yes or no. Is there anybody that believes that it is the bar's responsibility to make sure you're, responsible leaving the premises? Text 53544. Yes or no. Just to mention, by the way, thanks to Hannah Ryan, who just followed us on Twitter. And what we're doing tonight is we're going to pick one text or new follower on Twitter, or tweet, by the way. So follow us on Twitter if you're not already there. It's at Niall Boylan 4FM. That's at Niall Boylan 4FM. And follow us on Twitter, and we're going to give away 2 tickets to go and see Chubby Brown, who's playing in the Olympia Theatre on the 19th of October. Plus, tonight, are we going to give away that book tonight, Jen, Mike? We are. Yeah, we're going to pick somebody. All the the winners from the 3 nights, or the four nights, 5 nights, will go into a draw tonight, and the winner of that will get the book, which is a signed copy of Chubby Brown's new book as well, okay? Signed by the man himself. Very funny guy, by the way, if you like his kind of humour. So follow us now if you're not already doing it. It's Twitter, and it's at Niall Boylan 4FM. Just read out some of the tweets. Jack Herrer says on Twitter, hopefully when he goes to court, assuming he's talking about Colin, his voice can be recognised and he gets done for tax evasion. He's an idiot. Lovely. Derek James says, Colin fell, hurt himself and had his wallet stolen. The dog would say that's karma, and the rest would say he's a thick effer. Paul McCluskey says, does Colin know that the hair of the dog is a great hangover cure? And he, by the way, hashtag all your tweets if you can with Alan is an asshole. Thanks for that, Paul. A lot of people forgetting about that. Keep hashtagging all your tweets with Alan is an asshole, by the way. Alan is an asshole. And don't forget, we will be giving away those T-shirts. We'll get our first consignment in on Monday, and we'll be giving away those T-shirts each night, and we will have them available for sale at some point as well, and all proceeds that will go to cancer research, all right? Somebody says, or Sabre Ambulance says, hi Niall, off topic, but can you please read out Gardaí to stop? And I don't know what it is. Obviously, he's giving me a link to some there. I'll try and read it a bit later on. Dave says, why hasn't that fella been done for animal cruelty? Yeah, you're right, Dave. He probably should have been done for animal cruelty. All right, stay there if you can, guys, for a second. I want to go to Liz. John. Wait there, Liz. John, you're live in Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Hello, John. How are you?
Much. No, nice to hear you again. Love the show. Is that person on the other end there? Is he? Is
Colin.
He Colin.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's still there, yeah.
Put him on.
I'm here, yeah.
Yeah, he's there.
Hey, Colin.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear.
Listen to me.
Go on.
Were you in a nightclub or a local bar when you were leaving or you were entering the premises? Was it a nightclub, a date nightclub, or what?
It was both, you clever little guy. It was both. It was a nightclub pub.
Oh, I see.
So it was a late bar?
Yeah.
Smart arse. Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't mind him. He's been a bit of a smart arse, John.
So it was a nightclub.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and can you tell me, was there many friends with you? Were you just on your own, or you just, socialising?
4 lads, 4 the usual lads.
Sorry?
4 the usual lads who with me. Back me up.
And they're supposed to be your friends, and they let you in that state, and you walked out, and you fell, and you tripped over something, and your wallet was taken. You called them friends. Are you for real, or what? And you're trying to sue the barman then? Are you off?
We all... Have you never been drunk?
Oh, I have.
Have you never?
I tell you one thing.
You get separate if your mates. Your mates go off, go chatting up girls or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I've got a kid and I've got a long-time girlfriend. I'm not going to go chat up girls. They went off. I'm not going to be hanging around all them all night.
Listen to me. It was your free will to go in and ask for a drink. It was your free will.
And it was the free will of the barman not to stop serving me.
Hold it a minute now. It was the barman's free will to give you a drink, and he does it in good faith, be able to keep your mouth shut. And of course, you want to manage then. Hello, excuse me now. Let me finish before you fall down again.
Yeah, go on.
Right. No, you fall down inside the pub. Why did you wait till you went outside the door to do it? Was there no light out there that you couldn't see?
The outside world is where you trip.
Excuse me. If your friends were there now, they could have helped you and said you'd enough and take you home. Don't be blaming the barman at all, because you're going to get sweet nothing from the...
I'm sure they did help me out, because they kind of said, to me after the day, geez, you know what I mean? You're pretty gone there. And I was, you mean, chatting to them. We had a text the next day, chatting to them.
Yeah, but why didn't you want them to take you home?
Because it only takes a second. It only took a second.
Tell you, listen to me. I've been listening to
you
the last couple of weeks, you with your dog as well. Listen to me now. You can con man, but I tell you one thing, you are learning your way through all this. You knew you were trying to set someone up there now, and you're doing wrong, and you know it.
Why am I doing wrong?
You're not going to get a penny. You can try all you like, but I need to
What are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that he's pulling a fast one on the bar here?
Of course he is. For Christ's sake, half of the world knows it. Half of the world knows what he's up to.
Yeah.
He's been on the radio there.
Hang on. Do you have, hold on a second. Colin, do you have any witnesses?
Yes, I'm saying. People out to the bar.
Your witnesses are supposed to be your friends, and they let you walk out, and no one in the state that you were in, and they couldn't even get you a taxi.
I had one of my mates outside. He was chatting to me. He went out for a smoke or a piss. I don't know. I don't look at him all the time.
They were chatting with you, and you fell and bumped your head, and they left you there, and your wallet was taken. Are you
I didn't leave it for too long.
You mean? For real or what?
I walked home.
You walked home with it, and you bumped your head. And you went to the hospital.
I was pretty drunk. I was drunk.
You bumped your head.
I put my head in my walls, gone.
Excuse me, I think you're listen to me, you're winding people up there for Frightened Centre, but you're not winding me up. I tell you that now.
Yeah, well, Johnny, you're calling me a liar.
My advice to you now, listen to me. Go away and get a can now and sip it with 2 straws and go home and be a good boy and not wasting people's time.
Okay, hold on for a second. Stay there, John.
Where was that Euro? 1941, was it?
Oh, God. There's no need for personal insults, just because he might be a little bit older than you. Liz, you're in Dublin. You're live on Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you, Liz.
Hi, Niall. How are you?
All right, how are you, Liz?
I'll just start by saying I wasn't born in 1941, and I can tell you're a bleeding idiot. I mean, to be doing something... What my point is, you're trying to screw these people for nothing, you know what I mean? That's your business if you went in there, got yourself drunk and fell out there stupid drunk and banged your head. I mean, cop on to yourself, you know what I mean?
Have you got a brother or a kid or anything?
Oh, I do, yeah.
How old's kid?
Never mind, that's none of your business.
Yeah, is he out drinking you?
No.
Well, when he is, and that happens, you'll be cursing the mother about the barman because he'd be your fresh little boy.
It's your bloody fault. What are you going in there getting yourself in that state for? Look, listen, I'll tell you. This whole thing about closing down clubs because people are banging their heads and falling over and doing stupid things like this. I mean, so you just might as well shut up shop and go home and we all just stay in and not do anything if that's the case. People fall, bang their head, do stupid things when they're drunk. That's your responsibility. You know, as a grown adult, when you're going in there to get drink, you know when you have enough. If you can't control yourself, you're on tough shite. You know, you're not a baby. How old are you? What? Like, I mean, you're above age, obviously.
Yeah, 37.
How old?
37.
37.
Yeah, well, 37, 2 months.
Ah, Jesus. Cop on with you.
In 2 months.
Cop on with you.
You know, that reminds me of, you know when you ask a child how old he is, he says 4.5.
Yeah, 4.5. You know, like, I mean, that's what it just goes to show you his immaturity. Do you know what I mean? You need to cop on, honest to God, and take responsibility for yourself, for your actions. That's your fault. You choose to go in there, you choose to get drunk, and you fell over. It happens all the time. People always fall.
They chose not to stop serving me. So what'd you do?
Listen, it's your own bleeding fault.
Somebody says it.
And let me tell you, I'll give you an example, Niall. I went into New Year's Eve. We were going out for one night.
Yeah.
We booked into a hotel because I live outside kind of Dublin, outside of Dublin, so it costs me more on taxis than it would to actually stay overnight in a hotel in Dublin, you know, if I went out. So I went in, we booked into this hotel. It was an underground car park. I had literally 2 drinks before I left the house to go into this hotel, and then we were going to get ready and go. Actually, I was dressed and all, so we were just going to go out then. When we parked the car in the underground car park, it was very dim light, very bad lighting. So I was walking back up to get into the hotel, and as I walked, they had these like drainage pipes, but they had these like steel things going over, but there was a gap in the steel thing.
Right.
And my high heel got stuck in it. When my whole foot went straight into this storage thing, shit all up my legs, all down my shoes and all were destroyed. Honest to God, New Year's Eve. I mean, I went and said this is the hotel to the desk. I mean, you should really put lighting down there and cover that up anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They gave us the room for free, turned in the breakfast, and I mean, we went off happy, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shit happens, get over it, you didn't lose your bleeding life. You know what I mean? He didn't lose a
yeah,
leg.
you went on moaning about that and you got something out of it. If I got something out of this, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're lucky to sue them.
In the hotel. This happened in the hotel.
I'm looking for the compensation for injury.
No,
yeah, but hold on, what happened to Liz was genuinely something that should have been looked after. There wasn't enough lighting. There was a grating on the ground that should have been covered. She had an accident. She wasn't pissed drunk like you. You have a responsibility. They had a responsibility to Liz. She was on the premises. It was dangerous. They had a responsibility. But in saying that, she didn't sue them. They looked after her. They gave her an overnight stay and a breakfast or so, whatever it happened to be.
Yeah,
in your particular case, you're thick.
On good terms, you know what I mean? And that was enough. Like, I mean, they apologised. They said they were sorry. They'd look into what happened and they'll amend whatever it was that was wrong with the place.
But in your situation, Colin, you were stupid. You just had loads and loads of drink, turned into a right glutton. You didn't know when to stop. You fell outside the place. You're just stupid. There's a difference.
Yeah, really, like, I mean, honest to God, people really have to look at themselves, you know what I mean? You can't be going around suing people. I mean, these people are out there trying to make a living, obviously, God, they're in there trying to get their mortgage paid, rear their kids and things like that. You don't just look at them as a company, do you know what I mean? These are people's livelihood, you know what I mean? They're trying to make a living here. And people like him going into, let me tell you anyway, the fucking judge is going to laugh you out of that court. Are you joking me? Mm-hmm. The judge is going to, let me tell you before you even go in.
I don't think he'd be laughing. I think he'd be laughing when I go in and show him medical report.
Well, I tell you, if you start talking the way you're talking, stupid talk the way you're talking, and this radio tonight is going to laugh at you.
All right, well, hold
I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, hold on, Judge, anyway.
Hang on a second. Dermot has a story to tell us, I think. Dermot, you're live in Classic Hits 4FM. Good evening to you, Dermot.
Niall, how are you doing?
How you doing, Dermot?
Good, yeah. An interesting story. That lady just happened to say you didn't lose your life or anything like that. My story is actually one of either lost life or a major life change.
Oh, gosh.
Me. Now, it happened in November 1982, so that'll tell you how long ago, nearly 30 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. I was only 17, 18 at the time. I was out to get my first car.
Yep.
Brand new, well, not brand new, but, my first car.
It was new to you, yeah.
Had everything, had my license, had it insured, had it fully comp, everything great. And I'll never forget it, 5th of November 1982, piss and rain night. And I left home to go up to a friend's house, and I was going up through the local village where I live. I'm not going to name any names or anything like that, even though it's 30 years later. And I saw my local pub in the distance, and it was a wet night, so I was, only a new driver, taking it fairly handy. And these three guys were standing on the footpath outside the pub after coming out. Three grown men, and they were acting the bollocks on the path, and wrestling and pushing and shoving. And as I come up, I slowed down, but as I came up, one of the two guys pushed this guy out onto the road. Now, he managed to, he didn't know which way to go, like the rabbit in the headlights. He saw the car coming and he didn't know whether to run or to go back. And in the heel of the hunt, he made a run for it and he slipped.
Oh,
and
God.
He went. I slammed on the brakes, car skidded and went clean over his head.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, that's 30 years ago and I can remember it as if it was yesterday. Went clean smack over his head and of course, everything, the cops are called, the ambulance called, the whole. Now, I don't know if that man lived or died. And to be honest with you, if he lived with the wheel of a car going over his head, I wouldn't think he was ever the same man again.
And just out of curiosity, Dermot, I know the insurance companies don't advise you to talk to the family and all that kind of thing and everything else.
Say it again.
I know the insurance companies don't advise you to talk to the families or go to the hospital or anything like that. I mean,
fully insured. I went up to the cop shop and the guard came down and the usual carry on. Mm-hmm. And he went into the pub and he inquired what was the story. And these guys had been in the pub from opening time. And this was about 7 o'clock in the evening.
Can I ask you, by the way, how has that affected your life? Or I know it's 30 years ago, but...
Yeah, it was 30 years ago. I was 18 at the time. And the gas thing was, obviously everybody came out of the pub. And because it was my local, I knew everybody and there was witnesses. And the first thing the guy that, God bless it, that owned the pub wanted to do was to pour a brandy into me for the shock.
Yeah.
And somebody said to him, don't fucking keep giving him any brandy. Jesus Christ, if the cops breathalyze him.
Mm.
So he said, yeah, Jesus, yeah. So that was the end of that. So he was taken away and I heard nothing more about it. But I did get a solicitor's letter did arrive to say that he was suing my insurance for blah, 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 whatever. I never, ever, I know the guy's name, I knew I had the address. I just actually was rooting through old papers and I found it. The solicitor's letter from 1980, it started in 1983, and
just out of curiosity, did you get much from your insurance company? How much?
I heard nothing about it, and to be honest with you, I don't know.
Did you lose your no claims bonus and all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
No, I didn't.
All right, okay.
I didn't, and I wasn't done for dangerous driving because the cops looked at, they obviously photographed the car and the road and the whole 9 yards, and obviously because the pub owner had served these guys astronomical amounts of drink all day. That was obviously in my favour. But the gas thing was, and again, I'm not going to say where, but these guys lived approximately 30 miles from that pub. And they were getting into it now. I know in 1982 it was a totally different world driving, but these guys were getting into a car after drinking for maybe 9-10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Strange times. They were very strange times.
Certainly was. And look, it just goes to show you how easy and how quickly something like that can happen.
But yeah, well, it was just a case of what they were saying about the guy, you know, is can you sue the pub?
Well, look, Colin could have been the guy that fell out in front of your car, you know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. Like, I didn't make a big issue of the insurance. I was told not to contest it in any shape. Just leave it because it was fully insured and all that. I just had to fill out all the usual rigmarole, and I never heard another word. I never heard if he lived or he died. And if he died, well, he died. If he lived, I would put 99% chance he was brain damage, because the wheel of a car going over somebody's head, it's not very pleasant. You know?
No, I actually witnessed it once many years ago, and I think it's a horrific thing to actually see. Now, I know you would have been in the car and probably didn't see very much, but actually I seen something like that happen firsthand.
No, I did see him. I saw the car approached him, and he was lying down, and next to the bump, I felt the bump. Oh, you feel it, I tell you. And
that's the worst feeling in the world. I remember years ago I ran over a rabbit. I know that sounds really pathetic compared to your story, but I ran over a rabbit. And when you feel that bump, the fright you get.
Oh, Jesus, and you realise that the weight of the car is like a human or another living thing, you know.
Yeah. Listen, thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it, Dermot. Thanks for sharing the story with us, all right? And maybe it's a warning to people like Colin out there who, you know, obviously believe they can drink all night long and then manage to get themselves home. I've got an interesting tweet here as well from Michelle Costler. She says, Niall Boylan, I have another hashtag for you, Niall. Colin is an asshole. Ask him, did the barman force the drink back down his throat? It's his own fault. He's an idiot.
This is a Niall Boylan at Night podcast from Classic Hits 4FM. See classichits.ie for more.